Hello, Wealth Builders. You're listening to Wealth Building with Options. Here's your host, Dan Passarelli.
Hey, Wealth Building family, Dan Passarelli here. We've a special show for you today for this episode. What you're about to hear is a recording of a live session we did recently with our head coach, John Kmiecik, at my educational arm, Market Taker Mentoring. And honestly, I think it's one of the more useful conversations we have had in a long time. We're talking about why smart, hardworking investors still struggle to become consistent, and more importantly, what actually changes that. One quick note, during the session, we mentioned a link for booking a one-on-one breakthrough call with us. That link is in the show notes. It's markettaker.com/interested. Market as in stock market, taker as in take what is rightfully yours, 2 T's in a row. Markettaker.com/interested. Again, that is in the show notes. We'll also mention it a few times throughout the episode so you won't miss it. All right, let's get into it. Hello. Dan Passarelli here. How are you feeling today? I am really glad you're here because today is going to be a little bit different than some of the things that you're used to. Because today we're going to talk about why smart, hardworking traders struggle still and what actually changes that. And I have got my compatriot, John Kmiecik, here with me. Now, before we get started, I need to point out options are not for everyone. Please read characteristics and risks of standardized options before trading. Get a copy of that by emailing investorservices@theocc.com. Don't trade with money you're not prepared to lose. And everything we're doing here today is providing generalized information. We opened up by asking everyone in the room what their biggest obstacle was. And the answers were fascinating. Consistency, pulling the trigger, not having a clear plan, a day job getting in the way, confidence after a rough stretch. They're all different versions of the same core problem. And here's the thing that struck me most about those answers. One of the biggest lies traders tell themselves is, I just can't make it work. I should quit. Be honest. Have you ever thought, why does it feel like everyone else is making money trading, but I keep struggling? Well, it's not you. All these problems, they're common problems, and they have common solutions. Right now, we're going to talk honestly about why so many traders struggle and how everyday traders are making the decision to stop struggling and finally make it work. You lose money, you lose more money, but you know what? Losing money, that is not the hard thing about trading. Not even close. You know what the hard thing is about trading? It's feeling stuck. And I bet some of you know that already, but you just haven't admitted it to yourself. Am I right? Feeling like you've put in the work, studied, taken courses, watched the videos, and you still feel incompetent. I've seen this with doctors, lawyers. Hell, I've seen this literally. I actually had a literally student who is legit a rocket scientist for Jet Propulsion Labs, which is part of NASA. No joke. He was in this exact same boat. Trading's not about being smart. It's not. I want to ask you something. I want you to be honest with yourself. And you don't have to tell me, okay? Just answer in your head. No, answer in your heart. Has your disappointment with trading ever carried over into your personal life? Has it? I know traders who have been in that spot. And I'm going to tell you, it's not a good spot to be in. That wears on you, especially when you know you're capable of more. And it's a vicious cycle. It turns into lost confidence, which turns into hesitation. Then you're second guessing every decision, and eventually emotional exhaustion. How many approaches have you tried and scrapped and tried a new one and scrapped a two? And you said, maybe I'll try this. And you don't even follow through because you just can't. For many traders, it's not a new system or scanner or shiny red ball. It's something more. Or maybe I should say it's something different. I've trained traders for decades, and I can tell you something. Some of the smartest people I've ever met were terrible traders. And some of the best traders I've ever known were not always the smartest people in the room. Because like I said earlier, trading's not an intelligence competition. Trading's execution, structure, discipline, emotional management, consistency under pressure. You know what all these have in common? They're not here, they're here. Traders get trapped because they think they need more information, another course, another strategy, another indicator. And you need those. But it's not what makes a great trader. Information alone almost never fixes the problem. Now, this might be controversial, but I believe in it. Knowledge is not power. It's not. But structured knowledge, that's power. Here's what I mean. I've met traders who can answer every options question correctly, Greeks, volatility, every strategy. But when real money's on the line, when the market moves against them, everything changes because information without structure is confusion. But the confusion goes away when there's structure and accountability. Think about McDonald's. Ray Kroc didn't build one of the most successful businesses in history by hiring the best chefs. Not by any stretch, right? His whole philosophy was the opposite. Build a system so tight that anyone can follow it without making decisions on the fly. The bell rings, you flip the burger. The timer goes off, you lift the fries. 3 shakes of salt. Done. The system doesn't fail because somebody's having a bad day. Your trading plan's the same thing. When this happens, I do this. When volatility spikes, I do that. When I'm down 10%, this is my rule. Pre-decided, documented, no emotion in the moment. Is this how you operate your trading? I'm betting for most probably not. Now I want to share something personal. When I first became a professional trader, my risk manager, Bob, pulled me aside and he said, Dan, go pick the trading pit that you're going to go trade in. It was like my first day after getting hired. Get the volume reports, walk every pit, count the traders, divide the volume by the number of people, because more volume per person means a better pit. Simple math. So I did that. And the pit that came out on top was the Ford Motor Company options pit. So I told Bob, and he just said, oh. I said, what? He said, well, they have a reputation for being some of the meanest, nastiest traders on the entire floor of the exchange. And I thought about it for about 10 seconds, and I said, well, I made my bed, let's go. So I walked into the pit, about 10 guys in there. And they were not nice to me. They, screamed at me, tried to intimidate me, said things about my mentor, Steve Fawcett, that were ridiculous to hear. They cut me out of trades. One time, somebody actually brought, this is a true story, a guns and ammo magazine into the pit and opened it up there, talking to his buddy, kept looking at the magazine, then looking at me, looking at the magazine, looking at me. Stuff like this went on for a year. I don't tell this story very often. I'm not going to pretend that it was easy. And even talking about it now is hard. It was humiliating and it was exhausting. My nerves were shot by the end of most days. But here's what I knew. I wanted this. And I was willing to do whatever it took. And it was nice that I had Bob in my corner every single day. I talked it through and got to explain what I was doing, why I was doing it, how I was managing it every single day. That was not punishment, that was structure, that was accountability. That was the thing that kept me grounded when everything around me was trying to knock me down, to knock me out. But hey, eventually I broke in, and the rest is history. I had a very successful career in the trading pit. None of that happened without Bob in my corner. None of it happens without the structure, the accountability, the daily process. And I didn't figure it out alone. No serious trader does. And I'm going to tell you something. Years later, once I'd established myself on the floor, the CBOE asked me to train new traders. One of the first guys I trained, I'm going to call him Tom. He was an Army Ranger, an Ironman triathlete, and a sharpshooter. He was as mentally tough of a person as I had ever met. I trained him. He knew how to trade. He understood the mechanics. He was ready on paper. But on his first day, he was on his own. And he went and stood in a different pit down the road from me. And on that first day, he didn't make any trades. Second day, no trades. Third day, he quit. This Army Ranger, that's like the badasses of the Army. In the open outcry pit, surrounded by aggressive traders, he froze. He couldn't execute. And I know some of you have felt this in your own trading, right? Training and execution are not the same thing. Tom had everything he needed to know. What he didn't have was ongoing support while he was actually in the market. Someone in his corner during real execution, not just before and after it. I gave Tom everything I knew, the mechanics, the strategies, the process. I prepared him as well as I could. But here's what I've come to understand in the years since. The trading floor doesn't care what you know on paper. What Tom needed wasn't more preparation before he walked in. He needed someone alongside him while he was actually in it, someone to process the experience with him in real time, to help him build the psychological structure to execute when everything else around him felt hostile and overwhelming. That's not a training gap. That's a coaching gap. And there's a real difference. Watching Tom walk away is one of the reasons I coach the way I do. Because what Bob gave me, that daily accountability, that presence, that someone in your corner through the hardest part, I know firsthand what it's worth. And I've seen what happens without it. All right. You're a loser. I'm a loser. We're all losers. Look, I've been doing this for decades. I've never met anyone, not one person, who wins every single trade. The real skill is not winning every single trade. The real skill is, how do you handle the ones that go against you? Here's a thought that might change your perspective. What if this year your average loss was just 10% smaller than last year? So like, imagine on every trade you lost money, and every trade that you did lose money, I should say, the loss was 10% smaller. So put that back in, add that up for a year. Not 10% more winners, not a new strategy, just 10% better loss management. What do you think that would do to your account? And what do you think that would do to your confidence level and your stress level? There's a concept I love. Improve just 1% today because it compounds. After a year, you're 37 times better than when you started, 37 times. Here's what that looks like in practice. I love this. Imagine you're in a room It's at 27 degrees, so a little chilly. There's an ice cube on the table. Now imagine the room warms up 1 degree every 5 minutes. Well, after 10 minutes, nothing's really any different. After 20 minutes, what are we at? 31 degrees? Nothing. You've done all that work and nothing visible has changed. But after 30 minutes, we're at 33 degrees. The ice cube is melting. Now it looks like that happened just over this last 5 minutes. But it only got there because of every single degree that came before it. That's what trading development looks like. It's invisible progress until suddenly things click. The traders who get there aren't the ones who made a giant leap. They're the ones who improved consistently over time with a plan and with someone keeping them on track. So for the rest of this session, I thought we'd do something a little bit different. I can stand here and talk about this for hours, but I wanted you to hear it from someone who works directly with our student traders every single day, because this is where the real work happens. I asked John Kmiecik to join us. John is our head coach, a former Goldman guy. He works directly with traders one-on-one every single day. He sees the patterns and the breakthroughs and the same roadblocks coming up over and over and over again and knows how to get over them. There's nobody I trust more when it comes to helping our student traders finally get there. So please welcome John Kmiecik. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, really good. Like you said, how much time do we have here? Can we go to midnight? This is something that I could talk about for a long, long, long time, that's for sure.
Yeah, same. So, John, you work with our traders, our student traders every day.
Mhm.
When they first come to you, what's actually going on typically? What's usually the real problem?
Well, just piggybacking off what you said a little bit earlier, it's so funny because there's so many student traders I get, and I'm talking to them beforehand, communicating, emailing, and on paper they look fantastic. They tell me some things they're doing and so on and so forth. I'm like, what can I possibly cover with this person? And then I get to them. And that's when the real surprise comes. But really, it comes down to confidence and lack of it. It really does. So, but like I said, just with your Army Ranger guy, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like, this should be kind of interesting. I'm like, this guy can't have problems. Look what he's been doing. But it really comes down to when I get a hold of them, it's a confidence problem, right? And it's not because of all the bad trades that where the emotions got involved with the trades, which of course happens a lot. But it's making decisions, of course, based on the emotions without having the framework underneath. And that's what's so important there. It feels like every trade's from like scratch, and it's more like gambling than trading. I mean, I know hopefully a bunch of you should be shaking your heads like, yeah, I feel like a lot of times I put those trades on, I'm kind of gambling here and stuff. They're reacting emotionally in real time, right? And that's the scary part when those candlesticks are moving. And instead of executing the plan that was said. And I'll be honest, I've said this for those of you that know me, I said this several times. I was in the same boat. I can relate. And like I said, I was surprised when I first started teaching that, wow, I thought I was the only person out there having these problems, but I wasn't. And I wouldn't say that out loud at first, but I was like, I don't feel as dumb anymore, knowing that these people are doing the same thing as I am doing. So, again, I fought to write a trading plan, right? And then finally, after a year and a half, I wrote it, but I couldn't follow it. And that's where I knew I needed help. As smart as I was with my background and so on and so forth, as Dan said, being smart means nothing. I was smart enough to know that I needed help, and that was the key. So once I got help, building that plan, right? Tried to do it on my own, wasn't successful. Once I got help, everything changed. And I said, it wasn't like that. It definitely took some time, but I know the building blocks were in place. As I always say, the roots grow deep before the flowers can bloom.
Yeah. And, I mean, all that time and all that treading water for years, like it's stressful, right? And I mean, honestly, I've seen people just get exhausted by it. And traders shouldn't feel exhausted all day or panicked all day or whatever.
Yeah, I always kid, like, I think I've taken a couple of years off my life going through those years, so for sure. But nobody wants to live forever, right?
I mean, trading is supposed to be about creating more freedom in your life, not less. So let's talk for a minute about the traders who eventually do improve and the traders who stay stuck for years. What's the real difference? What separates them?
It really is accountability. It could sound simple, but it really is. And that's the problem. Most traders, I say most meaning a lot, traders don't have that quality, sadly, right? So the traders who improve take the small steps. They review their trades, right? They document their thinking, and they genuinely hold themselves to a standard of accountability. They really do. And honestly, I could see the change taking place when that happens, right? And I always say the best people I've ever trained kind of start doing this, right? But it's hard to get to that point. So, they treat this as a process, and that's the thing that's going to get them to where they want to go, right? I know you mentioned Bob, your risk manager. Hey, my middle name is Bob. No, I'm kidding. But I do feel I am a risk manager, right? And that's what's so important, right? Traders who stay stuck keep trying to solve everything on their own, right? There's got to be a way around this. There's got to be things out there, but it's hard to figure things out or next to impossible. I honestly have never known a trader that hasn't had a mentor or more than one mentor, me included. I mean, Dan's my mentor as well. So I understand the mindset. I've been there, and all of us have, whether we are willing to admit it or not. But that's how professionals operate in this very difficult environment to extract money from the market on a regular basis.
That's 100% exactly right. Man, when I first became a professional trader, I had Bob in my corner every single day. I was able to go to him every single day and bounce ideas, explain, hey, this is what I'm doing, this is why. And like I said before, that accountability wasn't like a punishment or anything. It was development. That's how serious traders are built. No one successful in any profession or field operates in isolation. Not surgeons. They go through a whole massive process of being an intern and all that business. Not lawyers, not athletes, not traders. And look, I bet some of the folks listening to this are parents, right? Kid signs up for soccer or little league baseball or ballet. Do you say, go figure it out for yourself? I mean, really, right? Like even a 7-year-old knows I can't do this by myself. If somebody shows me how to do it, I can be on a team and I can enjoy myself and compete and have fun. And it's not, oh yeah, I'll figure it out by myself. That's how it works.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. The traders who seek out coaching are really the serious ones. There is no doubt about it. I mean, I've always said this, like I said, I take this serious. I always say, this is not a job, this is a passion of mine. And I truly do believe that. I think about this a lot, all these things. And I treat people like they're my family, right? And that's how I've become friends with them. I don't consider Dan a friend, but he's the outlier. But I consider the guy that first mentored me as a good friend of mine still, and that's the way I look at it. So just keep trying to figure it out. For years and years, just builds frustration. I was there. I've told the story several times, how many times I sat on the couch just with my head in my hands. I'm like, I'm gonna get this down. Right? Yeah. And I just love telling that story because it is so heartfelt, because it is so true. Like I said, I lived in a condo building in downtown Chicago, going to work at the SIBO and stuff. And we had a door person there, and she would hear people complain about me yelling behind that door because I was completely undisciplined, right? And it was just crazy. But, here's what I've learned most through all this, right? Is most trading problems are not strategy problems per se, right? People know enough, including me, right? I didn't try to outsmart myself by any means, but they just don't have consistent execution, right? Discipline, right? That's why accountability and the psychological element of trading is so important. I can't even continue to start with this. It's so important. So yeah.
Man, here, I can give you a real example. So we had a student trader once, and actually is sort of a composite character, really. There's been a lot of our student
Yeah, I was
traders.
gonna say there's more than a few. Yeah.
Would understand options extremely well, could explain everything, but then the market changes or gets weird and panic, abandon my plan. They start chasing, start overriding his own rules. The wheels just fell off the bus. What finally changed wasn't, I'm just going to go learn another thing. It was building structure and accountability into his process and having someone to report to, having documented his rules. He couldn't argue with it in the moment if they're written down on paper. Just follow the rules. But if you don't have rules, you can't follow them. So here's the real deal. Look, we talk about trading plans a lot. We live in the age of AI. Anyone can go into ChatGPT and say, hey, create me a trading plan. And it will. AI is smart. It scrapes all the top knowledge off the internet. But you know what AI can't do? It can't know you and your needs. So here's the deal. I have said this 1,000 times before. Everyone listening has heard this before. Trading is personal. For a trading plan to be successful, it has to be created around your lifestyle. We were talking about this at the beginning of the show today. Around your risk tolerance, the amount of time you like to or are able to trade each day or each week, the strategies that click with you. AI can't create a trading plan that will actually work for a human. It's impossible. I mean, honestly, kind of what we're really talking about here is what I like to call problem, solution, problem, solution. By now, after everything we've talked about, you know that the problem most traders have is they don't have a plan. Well, the solution is to get a plan. But the problem is it won't work unless it's an extension of you. It's part of you. It's personalized. And that's the solution that we provide in one-on-one coaching every day. But there's still a problem. And that is that you have to stick with that plan that is personalized to you. So that's the other solution that as coaches we do. We hold you accountable. Right?
That's exactly it, right? It's because it's hard to do it on your own. It is, right? And it's the urge to do something undisciplined will always be there. I'm not gonna lie, it's still there for me. I'm not perfect. Am I pretty good after all these years? And have I bestilled my thoughts and my process and my accountability to others? And I feel the ones that took it serious have benefited from it, absolutely. But the urge is always there, right? It gets less and less, but it's always there. But I needed to be directed on the right path to hold myself accountable, which I wasn't. I blamed everybody except myself. Stupid market, stupid war, this or that, but it came down to me, right? The plan, if followed and personalized, protects you from yourself. That's the main ingredient. That's what it's really for. And it has to be followed. Again, accountability to write it, accountability to follow it. It's just that simple.
I want to share a couple of real stories that our student traders, they sent in an email, and, we screenshotted so that I would have it for future reference. So Angela Bargan from Alberta, Canada, I don't know, maybe some of you remember her from not too long ago. She signed up for our one-on-one coaching program, and in her words, it was the best investment decision she ever made. Now she's traveling around the world and trading from wherever she is that day. And, this is trader lifestyle, Jeff Quinn from Texas, he came in and, he was really green. He left sections of his trading plan blank in the beginning. By the time we finished, man, that dude could analyze any position using the Greeks before entering and, run through every what if scenario possible. In his words, what he said is, I love this, I finally own my own trading. I finally own my own trading. That's the transformation. Owning your trading. That's powerful. John, tell them about your student trader from the other day.
Yeah, this scenario has happened more than I just told you about a couple days ago, but this happened more than once. So went back and forth with a trader in Slack. I think it was both Slack and the email, but either way, he asked me how a trade looked, and I'm always looking. I'm like, no, you tell me how it looks, right? He was trying to make a adjustment here and so on and so forth. I'm like, you know what? So I hit him with a bunch of questions, right? And he was just like, well, yeah, that's kind of exactly what I needed. I just don't want the answers to be handed to me. I want to figure out for myself. And we did. And I prodded him a little bit. I'm not going to lie. I prodded him a little bit, but he broke down the trade. He's like, you know what? You're right. Why am I doing this? Right? Why are you doing this? And I'm like, where this needs to go? He's like, I already thought of it ahead of time. I wrote it down right now. I know you're recording, this little, you can send it back to me. And that's perfect, right? Because, that's what's important, that he's learning from himself. And honestly, I cannot tell you how many times I heard this. And it's kind of a flatter. I'm not going to lie to me. He's like, John, I heard your voice in my head when I was taking this trade, especially when I was managing this trade. I swear to God, I cannot tell you how many times I heard, I'm like, I can hear you yelling at me. I can hear you telling me what to do, all these different scenarios. And it's crazy. It really is. But like I said, at first I was like, wow, poor person's having a nightmare if he has to hear my voice. But honestly, it's kind of flattering when I hear that, because what is that? They're holding themselves accountable to what, because they know what I'm going to say. I'm not going to be a mean teacher and yell at them, but they know what they should be doing. If they feel themselves sliding away, they know I'm kind of bring them back to where they want to. And again, that's the key. They've kind of figured this out for themselves, right? So we really want to be in sync, and that's what I strive to do. I always say, I don't try to turn you into mini me by any means. I'm giving you information and discipline and accountability, and you, like Dan's been saying, you're personalized with all that then too. So again, I get to know our student traders, and I can't always get inside their brain, but I try to pick it apart as much as I can with their lifestyle. And that's the beauty. Everyone is different, right? Everyone is different. Some have a full-time job, right? They're going to be trading from someone that's different, that's retired, has more time to trade, and so on and so forth. So that's the key. There's accountability no matter what type of option trading you're going to do, right? It just has to fit with your lifestyle and your trading personality as well. So, and then again, that's what's so important here, right? We're shifting away from the trade, right? And making this a lifestyle and accountability through your trading plan, right? So the fact that he upgraded, his plan and had to solve it out for himself without being told, that's what's really great. Yeah, so that's when as I said, someone has changed, right? Like I said, the roots are growing deep before the tree can blossom sometimes, that's for sure.
So for someone sitting here thinking, okay, yeah, I need this. I'm tired of trying to figure this out on my own. I need a plan for me. I need accountability. What does working with you actually look like? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, it's like I said, and following up on that, like I said, we dig deep into you. I obviously get to know you. I come to dinner at your house every night, and no, but I get to know you fairly well, right? That's what's important to me, to make you feel comfortable with me to begin with, right? So it's not just generic education. All right, session 1, session 2, session 3, it's laid out, so on and so forth. This is why we work together, right? Every person starts with building a real documented trading plan. And you not know how many times, like, can I see an example? Can I see an example? No, you cannot, because it's got to come from your heart, right? I am going to help you with it, but I am not going to give you a generic trading plan, or like Dan alluded to, an AI trading plan. I want you to, tailor it to your own personality, your risk tolerance, your schedule, and of course, your goals as an option trader, right? If you already have a plan, right? And I haven't had too many people I've ever started with that have a completed plan. I kind of started on a couple of years ago, but that's great. We're going to refine it though, right? And it's going to be refined several times, right? Through the time we spend together, you're going to refine it over time as well then too. So it's a constant building block of a trading plan, I like to call it. So because it's got to be an extension of you, not me, right? You might hear my voice in your head, but it's still all based upon you. So we work on execution. Management, as I always say, the most important part of trading, bar none, right? That's where most people drop the ball. They're so concerned about finding trades, learning the Greeks and the options, that I find all the time that people drop the ball on the execution, the management plan of it then too. Well, if this was working, now it's not, right? I've been doing SPX iron condors, right? Well, again, let's work around that, right? This is real life psychology. I call myself the Dr. Phil of option trading here. This is the part that I love the most, like digging deep in there, right? So, and how do you stay accountable during sessions? I'm giving you homework. I always say, not like forcing you to do anything, but like show me kind of your trades. Let's talk about them, so on and so forth, right? Write down. I want to see a trading plan that's, improved from the following last time we met and stuff like that. All that is accountability, right? At first, you're like, oh, yeah, it's like a homework assignment, but trust me, people love it when they get into it. And then send me more quizzes, and so on and so forth. That's why I know if someone is just digesting this stuff. So, but here's what I really care about. I want you talking in your session, not just listening. I say that from day one. Certainly you have to listen to me. Let's make no bones about it, but I get you interacting right away, right? Instead of you just shaking your head, Once you tell me things, that's when it sinks in mentally. Again, getting back to the Dr. Phil thing, when you have to say things out loud, that's what really makes a difference. So I enjoyed that aspect of it all then too. So if you're shy, I promise you I'll get you out of it, right? But yeah, that's really just kind of like in a nutshell. We got too deep into it, but that's the part I love, working with students for sure.
Yeah, we've been training traders as one-on-one coaching students for nearly 2 decades. We have people from over 50 countries: New Zealand, Singapore, Australia, the UK, Germany, Canada, all over the world. And we've gotten good at it. Right now, I know what you're thinking. Can this work for me though? And that's the most important question of all. And the only way to find out if one-on-one coaching can work for you is by actually talking with the person who's going to coach you to discover if it's actually a good fit, right? So are you ready to do that? So if what we've been talking about today has resonated with you, if you're tired of inconsistency, tired of emotional decision making, tired of trying to figure this out completely on your own, then I want to invite you to have a conversation with us. Here's how it works. You go to markettaker.com/interested. That's market, like stock market, taker, like take what's rightfully yours, 2 T's in a row. markettaker.com/interested. And it's in the show notes too. And then you'll fill out a short form, pick a time that works for you, and we will get on the phone with you personally. And it's not a sales call. We're going to ask you about where you are as a trader, what your goals are, what's been getting in the way. At the end, If coaching is a genuine fit, we'll invite you to move forward. And if it isn't, we'll just tell you that honestly. Either way, you're walking away with more clarity about your trading than you had going in. So again, that's marketstaker.com/interested. It's in the show notes. Go check it out. And that's great. I love that you're enthused about it. And I love that you want to further invest in yourself and move your trading forward in this really, really important way. Coaching is not for everyone. The link is marketstaker.com/interested. Show notes have it. Fill out the form. Pick your time. And like I said, the only obligation is to show up. And, we're selective, and not because we're elitist or whatever, but because we want to work with traders who are genuinely ready, who have that hunger. And by the way, every trader you've heard us talk about tonight started with a conversation exactly like this one. So right now, we're doing this now because we don't always open up one-on-one coaching, but we had some people graduate through it, and we have 7 slots available. And based on how things go, those slots are almost certainly going to be filled by the middle of next week. So if you've been thinking about this even, don't wait. This is your opportunity. Here's what happens next. Here's exactly what happens next after you type interested. So Bobby's going to send you a link to book a time on our calendar. Answer the 5 questions that are there. And we will read those answers before our call, so we get a baseline here. Select the time that works best for you, and then mark your calendar and get on the call with us, ready to discuss your future as a trader. That's exciting. So there's no fee to apply or anything. There's no commitment except to showing up. And it's a breakthrough conversation, man, for both of us. So go to that questions box, type interested, and we will make it happen together. Okay, now we've had some questions come across here, and there's a couple that we often get as well.
Yeah.
So I want to address some of these before the end of the session. So, hey, look, I've taken other courses. How is this different? Well, I'll start out with that. I think the biggest thing is this one-on-one coaching, what we're talking about here. I mean, it's not really a course. This is you making a commitment to yourself. I think deep down inside, trading can work. I mean, you know it for a fact that it can. You've seen it. But knowing something and consistently executing it in real life are 2 very different things. And that's why this is personal. John, you want to take over?
Yeah, just going to add to that. It's getting a mentor, a friend, and a risk manager all rolled up in one. Yeah, and that's how I truly take it. I just totally believe in that. So I like you said, it's not a course. It's just me. Everyone's at different levels, and taking you from that level and figuring out and just getting you to be that disciplined, accountability trader that you want to be.
Yep. And if that's resonating with you, if part of you is realizing that the missing piece isn't more information, but, something deeper like we talked about, markettaker.com/interested. We'd love to talk.
Yeah, I had that aha moment myself. So yeah, like I said, I definitely need this. So it was a little kind of thing like this, and I'm like, you know what, this is exactly what I needed. So I was in the same boat. I promise you. I swear to God.
Yep. How do I know if I'm ready for this step? So I think most people already know when they're ready. And at this point, I know that some of you feel ready, but it's natural to hesitate, right? And maybe even come up with reasons that don't move you forward. Like sometimes people tell me, well, I want to learn a little more first so I can make, the best use of my time here. Look, you're always going to continue learning. After 30 years and 3 books, I'm still learning. That's not what one-on-one coaching is about. I mean, obviously, that's part of what it's about, but what it's really about is commitment. It's about commitment to yourself, to becoming that trader that you know you can be. People who learn on their own and, the DIY, they develop bad habits. Then when they finally come to us years later, years of lackluster profits or maybe losses or whatever, when they come to us years later for one-on-one coaching, we have to spend half our sessions on doing those bad habits. So I'm telling you what, if you're here, right now, now's the time to do this. It's not to wait. If you stayed through this conversation, I think you're probably curious about it. And
Yeah,
you probably owe it to yourself to get on the phone with us. And that's what typing interested in the questions box does. It gets you a phone call to discover if this makes sense for you.
Yeah, just like you said, how many stories have we heard someone where we're kind of friends with them, but they're just unable to commit, and again, that goes deeper into that. But like you said, you'll get on the phone with them, you'll talk to them 6 months later after another $20,000 loss, and they're still, I'm still trying to figure it out. I just want to say, just stop right there, because you're just going to lose more money and stuff like that. So if you don't want to invest in yourself and hold yourself accountable, I'm not being mean, I just want to do you a favor, and look into real estate then. So, yeah.
And then I know some of you are thinking, what should I think about before the call? So I would say, honestly, the biggest thing is just being willing to be honest with yourself, and with us too, so we can help you help yourself. You don't need to show up trying to impress us or anything. That's not what it's about. And you definitely don't need to have everything figured out. And you definitely do not need to pretend things are going to be better than, they are just by magic. The traders who get the most out of these conversations are usually the ones who come in thinking, here's where I am. Here's where I keep getting stuck. Here's what I actually want to do in my trading for my life. And when you come in to this conversation like that, we can make some serious headway.
Yeah, I'd also add and say, here's what I'm willing to do for myself to get better at this as well. Really just opening yourself up and humbling yourself, because we all know option trading, any trading is humbling. That's for sure.
If you're ready to have an honest conversation about where you are and where you want to be in your trading, go to markettaker.com/interested. And that's all it takes. We'll take it from there. What actually changes once traders start getting coaching? John, you want to take it from the top?
I always say it is where you do feel like the weight is off your shoulder, even though sometimes, like we said, it's a process, but you feel there's a different air about you, even though the P&L might not have caught up to where you feel, but there's just a different quiet confidence in a person that feels like this is what I wanted to do, but I just didn't have enough discipline, which don't hold yourself to that, because most people don't, to accountability level, and where I wrote a trading plan and I follow a trading plan. I always say, no matter what, before you get into a trade, know exactly how you're going to manage that trade, right? If this happens, I'm going to do this. But having a thought process, and I always say, it seems overwhelming at first, but it becomes completely intuitive over time. And that's where I know when I talk to someone, I could see that conversion over. And of course, they tell me as well. I just had a student just completed just 2 days ago. He's like, this is the first time I've ever made money in my life, and I made up for everything I lost. This guy is up in Michigan. He works 3 days a week and stuff, like 12 hours a day or longer than that. And he's like, this is the first time I've ever made money in my entire life. And I've made everything. And we're not even talking about money here. It was the quiet confidence that he had by doing that though too. So yeah, he's like, you know what, this is my fishing season. He's like, I still need to talk to you because I know that I'm still not perfect. I still need more work to do. But yeah, it's just, like I said, it's just a quiet confidence of feeling like this is less gambling. This is more mechanical. That's what I want you to do. Yeah. Or get out of it. So.
And, you know, I was thinking about this. Here's how I think we can summarize it. Tell me what you think about this. What changes with one-on-one coaching in a lot of ways is not the trading, it's the trader.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The results too, but but it's the confidence though behind it though. Again, it's less gambling, more discipline with a plan. That's the difference then too. And who doesn't want that? Again, life is stressful enough. If you had a notice, you don't want your option trading to add to that. Let's be honest, in the world we live in, right? And so, but yeah, so if we can get it to a place where there's one thing that's less stressful, it should be boring and mechanical. Don't get me wrong. Do I celebrate my profitable trades and that was a bummer? Yes, but it's where a point where it is just a discipline and just focus, and it's just part of life. So without being frustrating, carrying it over, like, you know, Dan talked about earlier.
One more time before we wrap up, markettaker.com/interested. That link is in the show notes. Fill out the short form, pick your time, and we will be on the phone with you, me or John personally. There's no fee, no pressure, just a real conversation about your trading and where you want to take it.
Yeah, I love that aspect of it too. So someone that's, as like I said, just is willing to ask for help. We all need help with this. That's the bottom line. And so, like I said, it gets me excited. I mean, I truly do love my job. Like I said, it's a passion because I went through it myself and I've worked with traders for a long time. And like I said, this is just something that I don't know, that's I love doing. Absolutely is. I can't, without sounding corny, it really is something I truly enjoy.
And then we'll just wrap this up with one more question. I'll just throw the answer out there. Do I need a certain account size? And the answer is no, not necessarily. I mean, what matters more to us is not the account size. It's, you know, it's your level of seriousness. I mean, we've worked with people trading retirement accounts and people managing very large accounts. And we've worked with people who have small accounts, but, you know, they're serious and they're ready to grow it into a big account because that's where most people start. And this is how you do it. I mean, the real question is, do you want it? So
yeah, I think, let me just add to that. Sorry. I think people with smaller accounts actually need even more discipline too. You know, especially with this day trading rule going away, there could be a lot of disasters coming out of that as well. You know, just even doubting yourself, knowing that you can get out of trades even with a smaller account. I just think that's going to breed a lot of tension and nervousness and undisciplined trading. That's for sure.
Yeah, and it should be a great benefit, but I can see what you're saying. Thanks for spending time with us today. John and I have been having conversations like this one-on-one for a long, long time. And what I love about them is that the core message never really changes. The traders who eventually get to where they want to be aren't the ones who found the best strategy. They're the ones who finally got serious about structure, a personalized structure, and accountability, about improving a little bit consistently over time, and they stopped trying to do it alone. And if today's conversation planted a seed, take that next step. We're at markettaker.com/interested. The link is in the show notes. Until next time, trade smart.
Options involve risk and are not suitable for all investors. Before buying or selling an option, Read Characteristics and Risks of Standardized Options. A link is provided in the show notes. To learn more about your host, Dan Passarelli, please visit markettaker.com.